What I want to do at this point is take advantage of the matter that we have lots of smart, well-intended people in this room. And I'd like you to help me figure out how we're going to move this industry to your benefit, right? Because if you don't win, we don't win. But also, of course, in the national interest and, for that matter, the global interest. So you've seen this before. You know what the outcome is. In my view, specifiers, energy savings consultants, facilities managers, contractors, not sufficiently involved, and certainly owners and users. We've been talking about innovation all day. We need to do it. It can be done. It's available, and it's commercially warranted. That point has been made repeatedly. The industry will transition to low GWP refrigerants for the reasons that we've talked about, and the solutions, as I say, are in our hands. I presented this earlier. It's in our interest as a country to do this in every way. But it's important that we recognize it and talk about it as it is, rather than being less frank and, in fact, not telling the truth and allowing what I consider to be obfuscation. So, in my view, HFOs, yeah, they're low GWP, but not importantly more energy efficient than HFCs in the data that I've seen. Very expensive, not safer, in fact, sometimes very unsafe. Not lower costs on a life cycle basis, and I'm very uncomfortable with the LCA of HFOs because, frankly, I don't trust the data we're getting at the production phase from a global warming impact principally. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll get transparency on that. So my point there, obviously, is do we really need HFOs? Naturals, on the other hand, more energy efficient, proven performance, can be used safely if we train people to do it properly, lower cost. Of course, we need the things properly designed, as I think Stefan outlined, and they're commercially required. So let's be absolutely clear about the consideration. Natural refrigerant-based technology is available and proven in all sectors, will deliver major energy efficiency advantages. Retrofit solutions are available. There's been a lot of misrepresentation that you can retrofit with a synthetic, but heaven forbid that you would retrofit with a natural. This is silly. There's no excuses for delay, but all of those people that I nominated need to be informed. So the future is naturals versus HFOs. And if you're not telling your client that is, if you're telling them, you know, cool your jets, you know, this will all blow over, that's just not true. It will happen. If you're telling them, or if other people are telling them that naturals are more dangerous, that's not true, and that needs to be called out. And therefore, from my point of view, why would you represent anything but a natural refrigerant better in every way? So, as I said earlier, there's going to be lots of obfuscation, my view on safety. So, how do we manage transition? In my view, transition is about technology, it's about the management process of that technology, and it's about collaboration. So, what is the technology? It's not just mechanical engineering. Most of the guys in this room, excepting me, are well informed on mechanical engineering and a huge amount of innovation there. But there's also innovation, as I was just saying, on energy management and on heat load management. We haven't talked too much about heat load management, but that's a key dimension as well. So in all of these categories, there's retrofit opportunities or there's replacement opportunities. We have to go through those, all of those disciplines to get the mechanical engineering right. But we also have to get the energy management systems and the heat load management systems right. Reflective paints, proven again and again and again by SkyCool and other technologies. They work, they deliver major energy savings. They're simple. And yet we see heat load management being operated in a series of silos, not always well connected, and separately from energy management, separately from mechanical engineering. My favorite is ducting. I ask the guy who's the technical director of the ducting, what amounts to the Ducting Association of the USA. And he's been in that job for a long time. What's the energy efficiency difference between what you see being used in most of the jobs, which is least cost ducting, and the economically optimal ducting? And his answer is the energy efficiency difference is at 20 to 25%. In Australia, most ducting is below code because the code isn't enforced. And if you go to ducting manufacturers and you ask them, what is the economically optimal ducting? I have yet to find one who can even answer that question. It's actually not that simple. It's not all that hard either. But if you can't answer the question, pretty hard to know what to do. So, lots of stuff in the technology area to do. Important change in every respect. Therefore, we've got lots of research, lots of education, lots of commercialization to do, and commercialization is hard. I did want to just quickly, and you can scrutinize this stuff when it's available, but the point is in every sector where there are lots of installations, we have solutions. And so this characterizes the number of installations. And by the way, the listing on the far right is not comprehensive, because I don't have the capacity to research the whole industry and find every supplier for every application. But indicatively, Pioneer hydrocarbon splits. There's another pretty neat technology being developed at the University of Western Sydney called green HVAC. You'll hear more about that in future. High-rise HVAC, major energy savings available from the companies on the right, using ammonia, using hydrocarbons, and evaporative cooling really has a role. I can't seem to talk Seri into working with me, which I don't understand, but I'm not going to walk away from the matter that evaporative cooling has a role, and that's basically the Seri organization, and so on. I'm not going to go through this, but the point is, every sector, multiple solutions. We can do it. We can do it now. Okay, so. We know we need to innovate, and we know there's a lot of stuff to do to enable innovation. And then there's a question of how do the consultants and ESCOs of this world and the actual contractors manage the process. And what I see is a lack of financial initiative. One of the things that I get all excited about from John Fick is his capability in financial engineering. The industry needs to use more innovation in the way that it finances things, because much of what we do can be vendor financed. When you're looking at a 3 to 4 to 5 year payback, that should be vendor financed. There's no excuse not to do it. And then the client can't say, I can't afford it. Split incentives. We all understand what that is, right? The guy that owns the building doesn't pay the electricity bill. The guy that owns the building doesn't want to invest in improvements. Screw my customer. We know the solution to this. It needs to be sold. And there's a few varieties a number of ways to solve it. There's some management issues that need to be addressed. But the starting point is awareness of these sources by all of the participants in the supply chain, and therefore this enormous communication and educational requirement. And then you've got collaboration. Government right now, with the exception of OEH, actually, has led the country. Other states are starting to follow VEET as well, close behind. But in the main, federal leadership has been, please help me understand, where is the federal leadership for the last 3-4 years? Huge training problem, as I've said, and a lot of R&D issues. We need collaboration across that full range. So examples, right now, you can't get a license to use a low GWP refrigerant. So you can get a license to use a high GWP refrigerant. Good, you're a good man, you can do that. But if you want evidence that somebody is capable of handling a low GWP refrigerant, that licensing capability doesn't exist. It's insane. So, lots of work to do. In terms of who's responsible, you know, I wrote this slide when I'd had kind of enough of discussion about the Ozone Protection Synthetic Greenhouse Gases Management Act. And what was on my mind is, if the leadership isn't going to come from government, it's going to have to come from industry. And in many ways, my mind is still there. That the industry needs to show leadership, but of course, once we get government on side, that has to be comprehensive. There's no point in having local government impede the use of ammonia on impractical, unrealistic grounds. So, you know, national consistency is required. Lots of innovation in the industry. A few things to watch for. Atmosphere Australia, Accelerate Australia is a magazine that will be online and available, I think launched May 16. That'll be a really good conference. Energy productivity, I think you'll see huge growth and acceptance and effort in support of energy productivity, which is basically energy efficiency, producing more with the energy efficiency. I'm really pleased to say that we're working closely with the University of Western Australia. We will be keen to work with others because academia, in my view, has largely dropped the ball vis-a-vis HVACR. That's not a simple equation, but we need to address it. We have agreed, the ARA has agreed, to work with the International Institute for Ammonia Refrigeration, whose mandate going forward, and has been for some time, is the full range of natural refrigerants. So we'll be working with CGF, you can be sure. We'll be working with IIIR, and we'll see who else. I mean, that list that I presented this morning, there are many organizations we need to work with. So my basic point is that the entire HVACR supply chain needs to be involved in that. We need your voice. We need people who are hands-on, but also people who are guiding their clients, not necessarily contractors, right? People who are guiding their clients in what's the next step. We need your involvement and your voice. And I hope it's apparent that we're trying to, the ARA aims to distinguish itself by being forthright, being science-based, and telling the truth, even if we don't know the meaning of CO2e.